As a real estate investor, one of the most important skills to acquire is being able to accurately value properties. And the way to value a property is by analyzing comparable properties nearby that have recently sold. In real estate, we call this process comping properties. And while it's a bit of an art, there is a science to it. So in this video, I'm going to provide a clear guide to comping as well as best practices. And be sure to stay to the end of the video because I'm going to show you how to use AI to comp properties for you instantly. All that and more coming up.
This video is brought to you by Free Comps, a free software that gives you the value of any house in seconds. Get your free copy now at compmydeal.com.
When it comes to comping properties, there are two different values we can look for. There's the current market value, or CMV for short. The CMV is simply the as-is value of the property as it sits in its current condition. The second value we could look at is the potential future value, or what we typically call the after repair value, or ARV for short. Now, ARV is the price the home would sell for if it was renovated. Whether you're looking to establish the CMV or the ARV or both, never forget everything in real estate starts with understanding the property's value. You can't determine what a good deal looks like without first understanding its value. Your job as a real estate investor is to learn how to quickly determine value by looking at comps. Comps are simply other similar homes in the area that recently sold. Now, when comping, it's important to keep in mind relevancy. Always use comps that are relevant to the subject property. So let's review some best practices when comping properties and how to use AI to do it for you. The first criteria for comping, and perhaps the most important, is location. Remember, the number one rule about real estate is location. The second rule about real estate is location. And guess what the third rule is about real estate? You got it, location. For comp to be relevant, it needs to be close by the subject property, ideally in the same neighborhood or subdivision. Avoid using comps in other neighborhoods, even if close by. If the subject property is not in a defined neighborhood, then stay within a half-a-mile radius, but even then, avoid crossing major roads because major roads are often where an area transitions. So what if you can't find enough relevant comps close by? Well, I'd say it's better to go further back in time and look at older comps than it is to leave the neighborhood or area. The other thing to pay attention to is unique things about the location that would impact the value. For example, views such as golf views, lake view, mountain view can significantly increase value. Likewise, locations on a busy road or next to commercial could significantly reduce value. Whenever you're considering a property, pay close attention to what's surrounding the property. The second criteria for comping is the sold date. For a comp to be relevant, it needs to be a sold comp no older than 6 months, ideally 3 months. A general rule is the more recently it's sold, the more relevant the comp. All other things being equal, a comp that sold yesterday is more relevant than a comp that sold 6 months ago. Even though sold comps are most important, don't dismiss pending comps or active comps. If a pending or under contract comp performs and closes, it becomes the most recent sold comp in the near future. On pending comps, there's no way of knowing the contract price, but a good indicator is how many days did it take to go pending. For example, if the property was listed on June 1st and it went pending on June 2nd, there's a good chance that the contract price is at or above list price. Whereas if the property was listed on June 1st and went pending 120 days later, it's probably below the list price. Now, active listings also tell a story. Are there a lot of actives and do they have long days on market? If so, there's a lot of inventory which may drive down prices, meaning future sold comps may be trending down. Likewise, if there are few actives and they go under contract quickly, demand is high and future value may be trending up. Now, there's a good way to think about it. Focus on recently sold comps, but use pendings and actives to make adjustments up or down. Okay, the third criteria for comping is property type and features. Now, this one is the most tricky because no two properties are identical, so you need to create some parameters or filters. First is to make sure the property type matches. If the subject property is a single-story ranch, then a two-story colonial wouldn't be a relevant comp. Stick with ranch-style comps. Other things to think about are year built, size of the lot, brick or frame, basement or slab, pool or no pool, garage or no garage, and so on. Some of this is market specific. You'll need to know how features impact your specific market. For example, a pool in Michigan has less value than a pool in Arizona. When it comes to size or square footage, stay within 20% plus or minus of the subject property. Try to stick with same beds and baths. Okay, the fourth criteria is condition. If your objective is to get the as-is value, look at comps in similar condition to your subject property. If your objective is ARV, you'll need to look at renovated and updated comps. ARV comps are fairly easy to identify. They're newly updated, vacant, and sometimes staged. They're also usually the highest sold homes in the area. By the way, if you're a wholesaler, ARV comps are usually homes sold by local active flippers, and those flippers are potential buyers for your subject property. And I call that the neighborhood flipper method, and I did a video showing how to find and contact those flippers when you're looking for a cash buyer for your deal. I'll put the link to that video in the description below for you. The fifth criteria is number of relevant comps. Now, the goal with comping is to gather enough data to gain confidence in the value of your subject property. Now, there are always outliers, a property that sold too low or too high, but one thing that I say all the time is the market doesn't lie. The more relevant comps you find, the more accurate you'll be on the value. And that's why you want a minimum of 3 relevant comps, but I recommend that you aim for 5 to 6. Now, if they're all clustered around the same value, take the average. If there's an outlier, consider dropping off the lowest or the highest and average the rest. So let's say that you've gathered 5 or 6 relevant comps. Now what? Well, the best way to use that data to determine the value of the subject property is to convert the comps into sold price per square foot. Here's how you do that. You take the sold price divided by the square footage of the comp to get the price per square foot. For example, a 1,400 square foot comp that sold for $425,000 sold for $304 per foot. Since comps range slightly in size, converting sold comps to price per square foot allows you to look at comps objectively, apples to apples. Once you convert the comps to price per foot, you can take the average or adjust accordingly to get your accurate price per square foot. Then you're going to take that price per square foot and multiply it by the square footage of the subject property to get the comp-based value. Now, I created a free calculator where you input the comps and it automatically computes the price per foot and it calculates the value. Now, I'll give that to you for free. Just go to freeoffercalculator.com to get that free download. But there is an even easier and faster way to comp properties, and that's using my AI deal analyzer that I developed. Just tell it the address, and using the comp criteria I discussed on this video, my AI deal analyzer will find the comps and even run the formula to calculate your offer price based on your exit strategy. It's really cool, and I'll give you a free version where you can do 5 submissions per day. Now, to get that AI deal analyzer, just go to dealanalyzergpt.com. Also, there's an unlimited version of my AI deal analyzer that comes with the pro version of my AI coach called Ask Jerry. Now, to learn more about that, go to getaskjerry.com. Now, next I want you to watch a video that explains a simple process for wholesalers to make offers without having to comp properties. This is a game changer, so watch that now, and I'll see you on the next video.